The Feodosia oil depot in occupied Crimea is no longer recoverable following a series of precision strikes by Ukrainian forces, according to Mikhailo Honchar, president of the Center for Globalistics, Strategy 21st. Speaking to Ukrainian media, Honchar stated that the destruction of major fuel storage facilities across the peninsula is deepening Russia's fuel crisis while serving a broader strategic purpose, crippling the Russian military's supply chain. Satellite imagery confirms that the Feodosia refinery has been left in ruins after repeated Ukrainian attacks on October 7th and 13th. 11 large fuel storage tanks were completely obliterated, while several others sustained irreparable structural damage. What was once one of Crimea's most vital logistical hubs for refining and distributing military fuel has effectively ceased to exist. The refinery's destruction marks a severe blow to Russia's capacity to sustain operations across the southern front and Crimea. For years, the Feodosia facility supplied fuel and lubricants to Russian ground forces and supported the Black Sea Fleet's operations. Its elimination now forces Moscow to rely on more distant and vulnerable routes through the Kerch Bridge and mainland Russia, both under increasing threat from Ukrainian long-range drones and missiles. Honchar emphasized that Ukraine's strikes are part of a deliberate and escalating campaign aimed not only at destroying storage capacity, but also at disrupting Russia's fuel transit network across occupied territories. By systematically degrading oil refineries, depots, and terminals, Kyiv is targeting one of the Kremlin's most sensitive logistical vulnerabilities: its dependence on centralized fuel hubs to sustain prolonged warfare. The fall of the Feodosia oil depot adds to a growing list of Russian energy infrastructure losses over recent months. With every new strike, the operational cost of Russia's war in Ukraine rises sharply, while Ukraine demonstrates that even heavily fortified facilities deep within occupied Crimea are no longer beyond its reach. In the Novopavlivka sector, Ukrainian troops fought off a massive attack by 3 enemy columns of Russian invaders. Valentin Manko, head of the Assault Units Department, reported that the coordinated work of Ukrainian units caused significant losses to the enemy. The assault was carried out by the soldiers of the 425th Separate Assault Regiment in cooperation with the 5th Separate Assault Brigade and the forces of the 20th Army Corps, which hold the Novopavlivka direction. The enemy tried to quickly overcome the minefields to break through to the Ukrainian positions. One by one, Russian motorcyclists were blown up by mines, unable to go further. Those invaders who managed to land tried to fight off the FPV drone attacks with their bare hands, but in vain. Ukrainian drone operators deliberately destroyed enemy infantry, preventing them from gaining a foothold in their positions. During the assault, Russian commanders made a gross mistake by concentrating a large number of personnel in a limited area. This created perfect conditions for the Ukrainian defenders to deliver precision strikes. Artillery and drone bombers were firing on the enemy's concentrations, inflicting maximum losses on the Russians. Ukrainian troops are holding their positions and continue to control the situation in the area. The other day, Ukrainian troops repelled a massive Russian assault on the village of Mala Tokmachka, located east of the town of Kharkiv in the Zaporizhia region. A truck crash in Ufa, in which 12 vehicles were struck and 2 people killed by a runaway Chinese-made construction truck, has highlighted concerns about Russia's widespread substitution of European vehicles with cheaper Chinese alternatives. The accident took place on the 15th of October 2025 at the intersection of Ufa Highway and Novogenova streets in Ufa in the Republic of Bashkortostan. According to local authorities, 11 passenger cars and a cargo truck were struck, killing 2 people and injuring 6 more. The vehicle which caused the accident was a Chinese-made Shackman truck made by the Shanxi Automobile Group Company Limited. The company operates in 140 countries worldwide, with manufacturing plants outside China, in Mexico, Algeria, and Kyrgyzstan. The introduction of sanctions following Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022 cut off exports of many European vehicles. Russian companies and consumers have switched to Chinese models instead, though not without some problems. According to the Vladimir Sevastyanov, the head of Bashkortostan's traffic police, the brakes of the Shackman truck failed. Russians are said to commonly believe that the braking systems of Chinese trucks are unreliable and far less safe than those of Russian KMZ trucks. The truck driver was arrested, but according to an UFA mechanic quoted by the local publication Proofs, the driver has nothing to do with it. The Chinese truck's brakes fail periodically. This is probably the 50th incident involving Shachtman trucks in Ufa alone. They usually collected 20 trucks at a time on the Sipailovo descent. Not all trucks have this problem. There are very few incidents involving KMZ trucks and others. Many Chinese trucks are owned by the right or well-connected people. They don't follow weight controls. Sometimes they haul 30 tons of cargo, but the brake system is designed for 20 tons maximum. Proofs reports that UFA drivers believe that trucks from the Middle Kingdom are extremely unsafe, can accelerate at high speeds, and often experience brake problems. It's not easy to stop a loaded vehicle, but it's still possible, since the gearbox load is always calculated based on the vehicle's gross weight. But an overloaded vehicle is impossible to stop. Yes, from the outside looking in, it was all possible to avoid the crash. But when you're behind the wheel of a loaded Shachtman with no brakes and flying down a mountain, I don't know what you'd do. Kill yourself or try to slam on the brakes. The tragedy was only a matter of time. I'm often overtaken on Salavatka and Komsomolskaya by these Chinese trucks loaded with construction supplies, going well over 60. Even with working brakes, they have the stopping distance of a train. On Shachtmans, the brakes are primarily powered by the exhaust brake. If the gasket between the exhaust manifold and cylinder head blows, they're left without brakes. More precisely, the brakes are practically useless, especially when going downhill while loaded. Such a vehicle, even with a blown exhaust gasket, can fail to stop at any moment. Otherwise, even after passing the inspection, the brakes will still work. But the funny thing is, this Shachtman primarily uses the exhaust brake to stop, Chris Owicki. The trucks are said to be routinely overloaded, leading to excessive wear on the brakes. Taras Koval, president of the Association of Transport Experts and Specialists, says that carriers overload Chinese vehicles because they see the warranties as worthless. Koval says that when they were using European-made vehicles, Russian carriers strictly adhered to weight limits for fear of invalidating the warranties. In contrast, they often allow Chinese trucks to be overloaded because the warranties are regarded as only nominal. Russian forces carried out another overnight airstrike on the city of Kharkiv between October 20th and 21st, launching a new wave of guided aerial bombs against civilian areas. According to Kharkiv Mayor Ihor Terakov and the regional prosecutor's office, 11 people were injured, and at least 15 houses were damaged in the city's industrial need district. Terakov reported that explosions were heard shortly after midnight as multiple bombs struck residential zones. Kharkiv has been attacked with enemy aerial bombs. Explosions were heard in the city. Early reports indicate that this occurred in the Industrialny district, the mayor stated, adding that the number of casualties rose as rescue teams reached the affected areas. Initial assessments confirmed that 9 residents were injured during the first wave of attacks, while a second strike hit the Nemyshlyansky district shortly afterward. By morning, officials updated the casualty count to 11 injured, 8 women and 3 men, most of whom suffered acute stress reactions from the blasts. The strikes also destroyed or severely damaged homes, outbuildings, and parts of a civilian industrial site. Investigators from the prosecutor's office said preliminary findings suggest that at least 4 guided aerial bombs were used in the assault. Fragments recovered from the impact sites are being analyzed to determine the exact type of munitions employed. The Nemyshlyansky district, where several commercial buildings were hit, also sustained considerable material damage. Emergency crews continued working through the night to extinguish fires and secure unstable structures. The attack on Kharkiv underscores a growing trend in Russia's use of air-delivered precision weapons. In recent months, Moscow has accelerated production of aerial bombs equipped with new guidance modules, enabling them to strike targets up to 200 kilometers away. These systems have become a preferred tool for Russian forces seeking to hit Ukrainian cities from beyond the range of most air defenses. For Kharkiv, located near the Russian border and under constant threat, this latest strike adds to a series of night raids that have turned the city's outskirts into a frontline zone. Despite the damage and rising civilian toll, local authorities vowed that recovery efforts would continue, and residents would not be forced from their homes by renewed terror from the skies.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week, it's 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.